Welcome to TradeTheMBA.com. This is John. This report is for the 15th of July. Hope everyone had a great Bastille Day. And here we go moving forward with the numbers. Pretty decent day. There was no whole lot you could do about that cyan candle because it started with the futures and early on continued the buy from the previous day on Friday and just kept going with it. So it was just a nice complete counter move. As you can see, we had some turnarounds. Not everything turned around though. A lot more buys though within the configuration, so a little bit less red. Made some progress on the buy sell programs and actually created the inputs for being able to turn on and off a lot of the features as well as even different alert colors. So like when the regular 15-minute alerts give the green or the red, you'd be able to choose which ones you want to pop up, cyan, green. And then I'm in the process of doing the ABM DO so that you can adjust which lines show up as well as whether there's a breakdown and have an alert if it dips below, because like you can see on the 50K when we look at it how that functions. So here we had it. Still, the end result we knew was going to be to the upside. It was just a matter of playing that intraday volatility with it. And from a 5K standpoint, it was pretty clean for most of the day. We started out ending it, and then pre-market boom began to rise. All buy signals ending and just continued and just faded across there, and then alleviated. It's overbought within the day. So anyone who's thinking that's overbought, it's not. So it was pretty clean overall. Look at our 50K, which had already told us that we still like the configuration. We're still rising in our red-white standpoint, green crossover, and then we ended up with a little interesting little spider there in between, but it broke right above it immediately and continued to go straight up from there. So pretty clean, still positive extremes there. So eventually that will, yes, in fact, get retraced. We'll be looking for the next stop point. I think this should move us to new equity highs if it sells out anywhere near here. So we had a little bit of a dip. And if we look at our current trade, it's doing all right. So it'd be 70, 75. So pretty close either way. Well, someone asked me about the daily setups. It's been doing its little thing. You know, we had that double entry, and then you had the slight dip because it added into the two. It took the sell at the lower thing, whereas if you were looking at each of these individually for your, 2x ATR, you would have never even gotten close to that one. The turnaround, of course, bought right at the end of it anyway, and again the following day to move back up. So sort of a net wash on that one when it did that. But that's the unfortunate thing about this, the way things have trended for this year. In fact, for that daily, it's just been going sideways. In fact, if I can put up the chart, then we do the performance report and see from the equity graph. We started up and then it's just been kind of boom. We're still right at the equity highs for it. So it's just a relative adjustment. We'll look at the rest of our charts here as we see nice turn up. We didn't get over the green. That's kind of a problem, especially when you move this far. You're really going to need to see that break over the green early on for a continuation. That's exactly where I would be looking. Whereas like this green is so much closer to crossing over, creating that little spider, so it looks a little better on the NQ there, which was looking a little weaker, but you can see it is already overbought. So retrace of the move. Be expecting it. And see again, even the YM is going to have to show more of a configuration cross there. It did end up with a nice steal above the cyan, so that was a good cross there, along with at least the green getting over the white, but it's going to go over the red too. And then nice part about it though, the red's already flattened out, so it's like turn up in the red, and this could continue for the YM without any difficulties whatsoever. A lot of interesting stuff going on. Well, of course, your bonds has been pretty smooth once we had the turnaround from being oversold and the deep move. Where it got interesting was oil still been in this cascade and no change in that. I mean, you can see that declining. Oof. That's quite a deep red move. Should start to stabilize now because now we have some lower peaks that we can begin to gauge off of, and it's just going to be a matter of looking for cyan to move down. So it starts to look more attractive at this point. This Moving into the gold, we had our positive extremes, so we were expecting, right about here, lows 127, but it blew well past. This is nothing you can do when something like that happens. I mean, it just literally opened like that, and that's the difficulty with playing world events. We were expecting a retrace that was going to come down, well, a little bit below the 125, all the way back down to here. What's that full number? 124.32 was the low of that positive extreme right over here. So within that, I didn't expect it to do it all in one day, but that's what happens with those commodities. It can get a little wild. And euro right in line with our expectations. We have the cross now needs to cross over there. We should see a little bit more movement from it. Not doing a whole lot at this particular point. AIG, nice turnaround from its positive dip. It never dipped below the red line. So once we had this like sort of washout event where you just clear tons of stops. I mean, all the people who've been following the various pivots just took them all out, wiped it out, moved back right above where you were. And this is why I always tell people, if you sell out, I always still have buy sells that I put back, buy stops that I put back in, and then just continue to lower down, particularly when you're in a sell signal. It's not the same if you're in a buy signal. When it's still at a buy, then yeah, you want to be a little more aggressive with re-entry. In this case, X, likewise, we had the positive extreme, but it just kept cascading lower, 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 boom. Still great readings. So don't expect that to fade. I think it's the more or less similar kind of shakeup that we saw this all in the commodity for natural resources, so steel, and now here you have the suppliers. So still struggling for CLF in there. It's looking very attractive for the potential put sale here very shortly as it gets over. So particularly if we get a pivot here, because that would be a higher red pivot moving forward there. It would be very interesting. So that's not definitely on the radar from an attractive standpoint. JCP still moving ugly. Nothing there yet. Likewise, though, it has the potential of a turnaround. Just got to show it. And then even WLT came close on the nice little pop that it had, but you could see that there was still no support coming through in the form of a crossover. And so with the rising red, you had a little bit of hope, but as that was separating, you were expecting a little more retrace. And it did just fine. I mean, it's not horrible or anything. The key is now that's got to close that distance if you're going to see any additional move whatsoever. So we'll plop up some of our alert charts here. Apple liked it, no change. Amazon, no change. Still overbought though. Keep an eye on that one. Baidu, a little too weak on that move, getting that far out. FAS we were concerned about because if it's not leading on the setup, then it's a problem for us. Did okay. It's going to have to get over that green over the red pretty quick here, as well as steel moving up. Otherwise, it could be problematic. Facebook, deep red, to get the crossover, and you get the crossover to negate the red there. Nearing overbought, but that crossover, which we're going to be looking at, will be to see if you get an immediate spider. If not, the potential for a little bit more. Google, I was happy with Google from its standpoint of the chart. Had no issues with it at all. Didn't do great, but it wasn't horrible. Netflix, interesting. Finally getting the pivot off of the deep. We have the number one come in there. We were looking for the beginnings of improved extreme histogram, but not enough of a move. That doesn't look good. This is going to be an interesting potential for short opportunity if it keeps showing weakness like that. PCLN, tiny little move. People think that's all great. That's still not an attractive chart. The nice part about it, though, is the extreme not being below the red line and then pivoting up for the open gave a slight bullishness to it. But I think at the close of it there, it's an opportunity to prepare to sell it short in the form of buying puts. Tesla, deep in the red, but it was interesting once it crossed above there, and that happened pretty early on at the beginning of the morning. So it started to fade lower, but the green was moving above its previous pivot here, and then also towards the red, and give good signal as an opportunity to jump in for a little counter move on what still is a sell signal. and Twitter still ugly. So same construct. It's just not if you're not getting the momentum of the green moving above there, then you better be seeing the steel moving above the cyan. If that ain't happening, then you're just seeing that you just don't have a significant number of buyers coming in, and all shorts are doing is just adding into a proposition. They're not ready to drive it lower yet. Um, so they'll probably wait for a little bit of a pop, and that will be the next point that they're able to dump. Particularly if you don't see a change then. If you get a pivot lower here at any point on the green before a red cross, um, look out, that's going to sink fast. You definitely could be coming back down to those. So precarious for some, not so for others. Kind of a typical course, very healthy so far, despite your usual world calamity issues and this, that, and the other. I don't think that much of that's too big a deal to be worried about. So we'll just keep going with what the readings are and any new signals that continue to pop up. And we'll still follow in that 50K and look for it to make new highs. As always, trade well. We'll talk again. I won't be in at all because I'll be in Venice all day tomorrow, but I'll still be doing the report for, it'll be Wednesday at that point. Trade well.